While heavy rain was falling, Mama Kelvin woke up angrily, took her 9-month-old grandson outside and left him on the flooded ground. The baby that her poor son left with her before rushing his wife to the hospital after she fell and collapsed severely on her way back from the farm. Stay there. I did not ask God for a boy. If you want to die, go ahead. I do not care, Mama Kelvin said as she walked inside and locked the door, leaving the poor baby outside in the heavy rain, shivering and crying uncontrollably. 35 minutes later, Kelvin returned to prepare food for his wife, who was in critical condition in the hospital, only to find his 9-month-old baby, whom he had left with his mother, sitting outside in the heavy rain, crying and shivering badly. Jesus Christ. Mommy, how could you be so wicked and heartless? What did this innocent baby do to you? Was he the one who killed your daughters? My God will forever judge you and reward you for what you did to my 9-month-old son. I will never forgive you for what you did to this poor boy. I hate you and regret having you as my mother, Kelvin exclaimed as he rushes his son to the hospital. And when he got to the hospital, he was shocked by what happened in the hospital.
Once upon a time, there lived a woman named Mama Kelvin, and her husband, Mr. Jackson, was a fisherman who lived in Riverside, leaving his family in his hometown. Mama Kelvin had 4 grown-up sons, and Kelvin was the first son, and he was 25 years old. Mama Kelvin was desperate to have a female child, and whenever she gave birth to a female child, the girl had to die immediately, and she lost 3 girls within a few years. Mama Kelvin became very sad and frustrated after losing her last daughter. At night, she awoke and began thinking and lamenting, "Oh God, why does my daughter always die during childbirth? What have I done wrong? Please, Lord, take these good-for-nothing boys and give me a girl. I need a girl, not these useless boys." Mama Kelvin then developed a strong hatred for her 4 sons, and she treated them as slaves, particularly the younger ones who were still premature. If those boys do the slightest thing to her, she would not mind using a knife, bottles, or any harmful objects on them. And if she cannot reach them to beat them to her satisfaction or they ran away from her, she would say, "As you are going out, may you be involved in car accident, and they will bring your corpse back to this house." And sometimes she would say, "You will suffer until you die miserably. Come and bet me I will bury you in this life." And Mama Kelvin was saying this in public, and their house was located in a very busy area where people passed by on a daily basis. Despite everything she did to those boys, they still genuinely love her and have always stood by her during difficult times. Those boys were extremely hardworking, caring, respectful, humble, and responsible, and their neighbors always admired them. One day, Mama Kelvin became extremely ill and nearly died, and her husband was not around, and they were not able to reach him at the moment. Kelvin and his brothers spent all of their money on their mother's illness, but there was no improvement. Her health deteriorated day by day. One night, Mama Kelvin became so sick and weak that she could not talk or move her body, and her sons did not have any money to take her to the hospital. "Brother, Mummy is dying. What are we going to do?" The last born cried out, "Please, brother, let us take her to the hospital." I do not want anything to happen to Mummy. Destiny, the second-born, said. Carrying her to the hospital is not a problem, Destiny, but the problem is money. Because of Mummy's mysterious illness, I have emptied my bank account and even borrowed money. I do not have a dime with me, and as I speak, I owe over 100,000 naira. Kelvin exclaimed, Please, brother, we need to do something before our mother dies. Prosper, the second-to-last born, exclaimed. And while they exclaimed, Mama Kelvin began coughing out blood and her eyes began to turn white. Brodea, Mummy is dying, Mummy is dying. Prosper screamed. Kelvin then rushed his mother to the hospital, and when they arrived, the hospital requested 160,000 naira before they could begin treatment. Please, doctor, start treating her. I will provide the money. I do not want my mother to die. Kelvin said, Please, brother, call Uncle Solomon and beg for money. Destiny said, Thank you, Destiny, I did not think of him. So let me call him right away. Hello, Uncle. Kelvin, how are you doing? Uncle, all is not well, and I am currently in the emergency ward at the hospital. Kelvin, what is going on? Your sister is critically ill, and the hospital has requested 160,000 naira before they can begin treatment, which we do not have here, and we cannot reach our father. Please, Uncle, help us with any amount of money to save our mother. Kelvin, I am sorry, but I do not have any money right now. I just paid my children's school fees today. Mama Kelvin's brother responded, and Kelvin sadly ended the phone call. Please, brother, call Uncle Philip. Destiny said, I am calling him now. Hello, Uncle Philip. Kelvin, why are you calling me at this time of the night? I hope everything is fine. Uncle, all is not well. Your sister is critically ill, and I am currently in the emergency ward of the hospital with her. The hospital has requested 160,000 naira before they can begin treatment, and we do not have any money with us, and we are unable to contact our father. Please, Uncle, help us with anything you have so that we can save her life. Kelvin pleaded. Kelvin, I have no money to waste on your mother's illness. Philip, Mama Kelvin's younger brother, replied. After the call, Kelvin called Mama Kelvin's elderly sister and explained to her the circumstances Mama Kelvin was going through. Kelvin, I do not have enough money right now. I believe you are aware that I have just returned from an operation, but all I have now is 55,000 naira. Please, Auntie, I am sending my account information right away. Please send it. It will go a long way. God bless you, Auntie, Kelvin said. Prosper, please. After a few moments, Mama Kelvin's elderly sister sent the money and doctor began treating her. The next day, when the hospital requested the balance of 105,000 naira, Kelvin and Destiny ran helter-skelter, looking for where they could get the money. When Kelvin realized his mother was dying, he decided to sell his generator, which he usually used for his barbering business, because he was a poor local barber. Destiny, let us go. I want to sell the generator in my shop. Kelvin said, Brother, if you sell your generator, which generator will you use in your barber shop? Have you suddenly forgotten what you went through before being able to purchase that generator? Destiny asked. Destiny, my mother's life is extremely valuable to me, so let us go and sell it. Kelvin said. An hour later, Kelvin sold his generator and used the entire money to pay his mother's medical bills. 2 days later, Mama Kelvin began gradually recovering, and when Kelvin paid her a visit in the hospital, the nurse who was looking after her said, Kelvin, please, we need one girl to be constantly with your mother in the hospital, especially at night. I do not have a sister, so what about my younger brother? Can't he stay with her? Kelvin asked. No, we only need a girl to stay with her. Your brother can stay with her during the day, but we need a girl to stay with her constantly at night. Kelvin started thinking about what he would do, and then he remembered he had a girlfriend, so he went to her shop. Please, Amara, I need your help right now, Kelvin said. What kind of help, please? Amara asked. Please, the hospital needs a girl to stay with my mother every night, and they do not need a boy. I am confused right now, Kelvin exclaimed. So, what do you want me to do? Amara, you are the only girl that I trust and have. So please, I want you to stay with my mother in the hospital, Kelvin pleaded. This is difficult. Oh, I have never been to the hospital before, and I doubt my parents will allow me because of your mother's attitude, Amara said. Amara, please do not mind my mother's characters. Do it for my sake. Okay, I will. But first, inform my parents. I doubt they will agree. I will do my best. Thank you so much. It's okay. Please take care of yourself, Amara responded. A few moments later, Kelvin went to Amara's house and explained everything the nurse had said to her mother, eventually pleading with her to let Amara stay with his mother in the hospital every night. Kelvin, you are a very nice and responsible gentleman, and it is because of you that I will let my daughter stay with your ungrateful and heartless mother in the hospital, Amara's mother said. Thank you so much, Mummy. I am extremely grateful, Kelvin appreciated. You are welcome, my son. But have you informed Amara? Yes, Ma, I did. Please, Ma, is Daddy around? I would like to inform him as well, Kelvin asked. No, he is not here. Do not worry, I will inform him when he returns, Amara's mum responded. God bless you, Ma, Kelvin said. Amen, and you as well, my son. A few hours later, Amara's father returned, and his wife told him everything Kelvin had said. Well, if it is Kelvin, I have no problem with that. Kelvin is a blessing to this family, but has Amara agreed to stay with that heartless and ungrateful woman? Amara's father asked. Yes, she agreed. I sometimes wonder why God would give that woman such wonderful boys. Mama Kelvin does not deserve them because she is an ungrateful person, Amara's dad stated. You are right, she doesn't deserve those boys at all. And one thing I love most about those is that they are very hardworking and also very caring. 2 weeks ago, Kelvin and his brother Destiny almost killed a young man who insulted and threatened to slap their mother in the market. And if I had not been there, Kelvin and his brother might have killed that young man. Amara's mum said. Are you serious? Amara's dad asked. I am very serious, and I have always admired those boys greatly. The next day, Amara started going to the hospital to stay with Kelvin's mother, which made Kelvin and his brothers happy. A few days later, a lady named Anita, the wife of a very wealthy professor, brought her sick mother to the hospital and stayed in the same ward as Mama Kelvin. When Kelvin and his brother arrived at the hospital, their mother began talking gradually.
Who is this? Mommy, this is Kelvin. How are you feeling right now? Kelvin asked. I am hungry. I want to eat. Mommy, what do you want to eat? Destiny and Kelvin asked coincidentally. Anything.
Kelvin then called the nurse to ask what kind of food they would give his mother. Light foods such as pap. The nurse said. Kelvin took out money from his pocket and said, "Destiny, take this money by Pap," and rushed to the house to prepare. "I want to see you in the next 15 minutes. Please hurry up," Kelvin said as he handed Destiny the money. "Destiny, are you still there? What are you still waiting for?" Kelvin screamed. "I want to check if Mummy still has water, so I will buy some." Destiny responded, "Do not worry, I will take care of it. Just go and do what I asked." "Destiny, hurry up. Mummy is hungry," Kelvin screamed. Some minutes later, Destiny arrived with the pap, and Kelvin collected it and began feeding his mother, while Lady Anita looked at them steadily with teary eyes. "I just wish he was my son. Oh God, when will I have my own child? I am tired of being childless," she said in her mind. A week later, Mama Kelvin had recovered, and when the hospital brought Mama Kelvin's bills, Kelvin and Destiny screamed and began crying. "Brother, where are we going to get this amount of money?" Destiny exclaimed. "This was why I didn't want to bring her to the hospital." Kelvin lamented, and Lady Anita was touched, so she approached them to ask how much the bills were. 520,000 naira. They said, "I will pay the bill." Lady Anita said, "Jesus Christ. Ma, are you serious?" Kelvin asked. "Yes, I am. Get me the account details," Lady Anita said. A few moments later, Lady Anita paid the bill, which made Kelvin and his brother extremely thankful. "God will bless and replenish you and your family, Ma. You will never lack anything in life," they said. "Amen. Thank you very much, madam," Mama Kelvin appreciated. "You are welcome, my sister. You are one of the luckiest women on the planet," Lady Anita stated. "Please, Ma, what exactly do you mean by that?" Mama Kelvin asked confusedly. "My sister, God blessed you with golds. Madam, you are extremely lucky to have these amazing boys as children. These kind of children are as scared as hen's teeth. Ma, if God blesses me with one of these boys, I will thank him every now and then because these boys are absolutely amazing. I cried silently every day because of how these boys cared for you. You are a very lucky woman, and I admired your children greatly," Lady Anita confessed. "You are correct, Ma. I have seen countless patients and their children in this hospital, but I have never seen your children's type. They are exceptional. These boys, especially Kelvin, are just too caring and amazing, and I admired them greatly. You are truly one of the luckiest mothers," the nurse who looked after Mama Kelvin stated, and Mama Kelvin thanked them. Thereafter, Mama Kelvin and Lady Anita's mother were discharged from the hospital. In the night, Lady Anita began telling her husband how Kelvin and his younger brothers took care of their mother in the hospital, after which she started crying and lamenting. "Oh God, what have we done that you refuse to give us a single child? It has been nearly 23 years since we married without having a child. What offense have we committed? Sometimes I feel like committing suicide because the pain is too much for me to bear," Lady Anita lamented. "Did everything I could to have just one child, but God refused to give me. They said do this, do that. I do not know what I have never done in the name of having a child. I gave scholarships to many people to study abroad and in Nigeria. I built churches, mosques, hospitals. I trained countless orphans. I helped many people. I even built houses for countless less privileged people and established profitable business. What else have I not done that God has refused to grant me a single request? The worst part is that I do not have a son or daughter to inherit all of the property. God, what have I done? I do not understand this life anymore. Professor Maxwell lamented. If God could just give us one child, I would be eternally grateful. Lady Anita said, My dear wife, all is well. I am confident that God will grant our heart's desires very soon. Professor Maxwell said. 2 weeks after discharging Mama Kelvin, she started quarreling with his sons. She got up one morning and said, "For of you combined will never be like one girl to me. If I had the opportunity to sacrifice all of you in order to have a girl, I would have done so immediately. Mummy, you are an ingrate. Look at what you said after everything we did for you. Mummy, you should repent of your unpleasant attitude and ingratitude." Kelvin said, "Mummy, I am so disappointed in you. I cannot believe you are saying this after we saved your life. Mummy, you need serious deliverance." Destiny said, "God will punish your stinking mouth." Mama Kelvin said, "Mummy, what have we done to you that you hate us so much? You do not treat us like your children. You get angry at us for the slightest things we do, and you maltreated us like slaves. Sometimes I wonder if you are truly our mother, because I find it difficult to believe you are." Prosper, the third son, exclaimed. Mama Kelvin became so angry that she spat on Prosper's face. "Mummy, there is no difference between you and a witch, because you are behaving like a witch." Destiny said, "Destiny, stop talking to her like that. She is our mother, so be mindful of how you speak to her." Kelvin said, "Brother, leave me alone. Mummy is becoming something else." Destiny said as he walked away, "God will punish you, and you will suffer until the day you die." Mama Kelvin said, "Mummy, what is your problem? Why are you cursing your own son? Why are you like this, Mum? Did we beg you to give birth to us? Because you treat us as if we are begging you to give birth to us." Kelvin asked, "Do you want to beat me?" She asked, and while they were interacting, Chief Clement walked in with police officers. "Kelvin, either pay me my money here or at the police station. The choice is yours." Chief Clement said. "Kelvin, which money is he referring to?" Mama Kelvin asked. "Mummy, I borrowed 100,000 naira from him to pay your medical bills and buy medicine for you when you were nearing death." Kelvin explained, "I did not send you to borrow money from anyone. Instead of borrowing, you could have asked my brothers and sisters to send you money. You are the one who knows how you will repay the money." Mama Kelvin replied and walked away. "Mummy, is that all you can say?" Kelvin asked with teary eyes. "Officer, take him away," Chief Clement said, and police took Kelvin away. A few days after their neighbors learned what had happened to Kelvin, they contributed money and paid Chief Clement, and they eventually went to the station to bail Kelvin out. The next morning, Mama Kelvin began accusing all of her neighbors of killing her female children. A week later, her husband returned home, and the neighbors summoned him right away. "Jackson, you are a very good man. You have been very nice to me and my family. I have summoned you here to beg you to warn your wife. We have been overlooking her because of our respect for you." One of the neighbors said, "Please, what did she do?" Mr. Jackson curiously asked. "Your wife falsely accused us of killing her female children, and if it had not been for you, we could have sued her in court. My wife and some of our neighbors were even ready to file the case in court, but I begged them not to because of you and your sons. Please, sir, talk to your wife, because the next time she tries that, we will have no choice but to sue her in court. Please talk to her. She is your wife." Chief Rowland said, "Please, Chief, I am deeply sorry. I have no idea what happened to my wife. She was not like this before. In any case, I will talk to her when she returns from the market. Mr. Jackson replied as he left them, and when he got home, his sons told him how their mother was deadly sick, and they took her to the hospital, and after she recovered, she began mistreating and cursing them. Mama Kelvin returned from the market a few hours later, and after she finished what she was doing and went to bed, her husband began talking maturely. "Margaret, why would you accuse our neighbors of killing our female children when you are aware of the consequences of falsely accusing someone of murder? Do you know that if they sue you in court, it will be a very big case because you have no evidence to prove that they are the ones who killed your female children? Please do not get me into trouble," Mr. Jackson said. "Oh, they sent you to come and attack me, right?" Mama Kelvin asked. "Margaret, what exactly is your problem?" "Jackson, female child is my problem. Every other woman in this area has a female child except for me. If I do not have a girl, there will be no peace in this family. Margaret, I have always told you to be patient. We will have the female child when the time comes, and even if we don't, the 4 boys God has given us are perfectly fine. I would rather have one girl than these useless boys," she said. "There is nothing one can do for an ingrate that he or she will appreciate. Please, woman, allow me to stay in peace. I am not the first person to marry Oo," Mr. Jackson said. "When you are finished crying, you will rest," she replied. "Margaret, you better turn a new leaf and repent of your ugly attitudes before it is too late," Mr. Jackson said as he retired to bed. A month later, Kelvin accidentally got his girlfriend Amara pregnant. Kelvin was afraid to tell his mother that Amara was pregnant with him because of her unpleasant behavior, so he decided to keep the pregnancy hidden. A month after Amara became pregnant, Amara's mom went to Kelvin's mother and told her about the pregnancy. "Mama Kelvin, are you aware that Amara is pregnant with your son Kelvin?" Amara's mom asked. "No, he did not tell me, and it has been a long time since I saw Amara." "Please, where is Amara?" Mama Kelvin asked. "She is in the house. Please, I would like her to come and stay with us. I want to take good care of her," Mama Kelvin said. "God forbid, I will never allow my only child to stay with you. Please, I just came to inform you that my daughter is pregnant with your son. Goodbye." Mama Kelvin then began disturbing Kelvin in order to bring Amara home. "Mummy, I will never do that because I do not trust you. My son, listen to me. I am now a changed person. Please bring her. I promise not to hurt her and will take good care of her." Mama Kelvin persuaded Kelvin, and he innocently brought Amara home, making Mama Kelvin very happy. After Kelvin brought Amara to the house, Mama Kelvin began treating Amara as a queen, taking extremely good care of her. People were amazed by how Mama Kelvin took care of Amara, and the news became the talk of the town. Some people said, "This is unusual. I believe Amara cast a spell on Mama Kelvin because that woman has never been as nice and caring." 3 months later, Mama Kelvin gave Kelvin money to pay Amara's dowry, which made Kelvin extremely happy. So 2 weeks later, Kelvin paid Amara's dowry. One day, Amara began asking Kelvin confusing questions. "Kelvin, be honest with me. Did you cast a spell on your mother?" Amara asked. "That is exactly the question I intended to ask you, because I no longer understand my mother," Kelvin responded. "Kelvin, I am very scared because no one knows her intentions for everything she is doing. Could you imagine that your mother does not let me do anything in the house, Kelvin? I believe she is hiding something from us, and I am afraid." My mother is not hiding anything from us. I believe she has turned a new leaf, so do not worry. Kelvin responded. The following month, Amara's parents traveled to Cameroon for a very significant purpose, leaving Amara with Kelvin and his family. 9 months after Amara got pregnant, Amara was playing Ludo with Mama Kelvin, her mother-in-law, when she began screaming. "Prosper, please go quickly and call me a taxi," Mama Kelvin said. Her third son, Prosper, ran recklessly and called her a taxi. When the taxi arrived, Prosper went to play football, while Mama Kelvin rushed Amara to a nearby hospital, where she began praying desperately. A few minutes later, Amara gave birth to a baby boy, and when Mama Kelvin discovered the baby was a boy, she became extremely angry and walked away from the hospital, abandoning Amara and the newborn baby. When she got home, she burned all of the baby items she had brought for the unborn child because Amara did not give birth to a girl as she had hoped. A few moments later, the midwives and nurses who were caring for Amara started looking for Mama Kelvin, but they could not find her, and Amara was extremely weak. An hour later, Kelvin returned from work and began asking his mother about his wife. "Mummy, where is Amara?" Kelvin asked. "What kind of a stupid question is that? Did you hire me to take care of Amara? Am I her caregiver?" she asked. "Mummy, what is going on? Why are you talking in this manner? Is there a problem?" Kelvin asked confusedly. Mama Kelvin hissed and walked away from him. "What sort of problem is this? Where would she have gone?" Kelvin asked confusedly. Prosper returned just as Kelvin was about to go to Amara's friend's house and check on her. "Prosper, did you see Amara?" Kelvin asked. "Yes, she was screaming, so Mummy decided to rush her to the hospital." "Go to the hospital and you will see her and Mummy," Prosper stated, and Kelvin quickly realized that it was childbirth. So he rushed to his nearest neighbor's house and begged his neighbor's wife to accompany him to the hospital, which she did without hesitation. When they arrived at the hospital, nurses were busy looking for Amara's family, and when they arrived, they began asking people about Amara. When they got to where Amara was staying, Kelvin discovered the baby was a boy, and he quickly realized why his mother had abandoned Amara in the hospital. When Kelvin returned home to bring the baby's items to the hospital, he discovered that his mother had burned everything, which made him extremely sad and devastated. He then rushed to the market and began buying baby items that were urgently needed. A few days later, Amara was released from the hospital. Their neighbors were extremely happy, so they bought them several gifts, which made Mama Kelvin even more angry with Amara and the new baby. 2 weeks later, Mama Kelvin began troubling Amara and the baby. "Kelvin, send that girl and her son out of my house because they are demons. Amara and her evil son have always attacked me in my dreams, and I cannot live under the same roof with 2 demons." Mama Kelvin said. "Mummy, I will not do that. This is my father's house and Divine is my son." Kelvin responded. "Kelvin, we shall see. Mummy, we will see nothing." 3 months later, Mama Kelvin awoke one morning with bitterness in her heart and threw all of the baby's belongings outside, claiming that the baby's crying was severely disturbing her in both her dream and reality. So Kelvin decided to report her to her parents. "Grandpa and Granny, I don't know what Amara and my 3-month-old baby did to my mother. My mother hate them with a passion simply because Amara did not give birth to a girl, and she trouble the poor innocent baby and the mother every day." Kelvin explained with teary eyes. "She is mad. I do not know who trained her to become a beast because that is not how we trained her. Do not worry, my grandson, we will summon her and talk to her badly." Kelvin's grandfather said. They summoned her and warned her to leave Kelvin and his family alone, or they would curse her. And Mama Kelvin promised to stay out of Kelvin's affairs. So she started behaving normally until the baby was 9 months old. One afternoon, Amara and Kelvin's brother went to harvest cassava, and as they were returning from the farm, heavy rain began to fall. So they began running with cassava on their heads so that their unprotected phone would not be spoiled by the rain. And while they were running, Amara stepped on a very slippery ground and fell uncontrollably with the load of cassava on her head. She screamed painfully and collapsed. So Destiny and his 2 brothers struggled and carried her to the hospital. When they arrived, Prosper rushed to the house and screamed Kelvin's name. Brother Kelvin, Brother Kelvin. Prosper, what happened? Why are you screaming my name like that? Brother Kelvin, Amara is dying. Prosper screamed. What happened to her? And where is she? She fell and collapsed while returning from a farm, and we took her to the hospital. She is currently in the emergency ward. Jesus Christ. Please, Mummy, I am rushing to the hospital. Amara collapsed on her way home from the farm, so please look after my son. He is sleeping. When he arrived at the hospital, Amara was in critical condition. At night, Kelvin and his brothers were still in the hospital with Amara. When Mama Kelvin wanted to sleep, she refused to feed and dress the baby, and the weather was extremely cold due to the heavy rain that was falling. So the baby woke up and began crying and shivering badly, preventing Mama Kelvin from sleeping. So she tried to stop the baby from crying but was unable to do so, and she became extremely angry with the baby. Abeg, what is it, nah? Stop disturbing my life. This is not what I asked God to give me. Mama Kelvin said as she carried the baby angrily to the backyard while heavy rain was falling. So she decided to keep the baby on the ground and said, "Stay there as you do not want to sleep. I did not ask God for a boy. If you want to die, go ahead. I do not care." Mama Kelvin said as she walked inside and locked the door, leaving the baby outside in the heavy rain crying and shivering. 35 minutes later, the doctor requested food for Amara, so Kelvin rushed to the house to prepare it, only to discover his 9-month-old baby, whom he had left with his mother, sitting outside in the heavy rain crying and shivering badly. Jesus Christ! Kelvin screamed as he hurriedly carried his son. Mummy, you are very wicked and heartless. What did this innocent boy do to you? Was he the one who killed your daughters? My God will forever judge and reward you for what you did to my 9-month-old son. I will never forgive you for what you did to this poor boy. I hate you and regret having you as my mother. Just as you frustrated this poor innocent boy, so will your life be frustrated. Kelvin exclaimed as he rushes his son to the hospital. The following day, Mr. Jackson, their father, came home unannounced, and immediately after he arrived, Prosper and the last-born narrated everything that had happened to them. Daddy, Prosper, and I are no longer attending school because Mummy refused to pay our school fees, and our school is writing promotion exams. The last-born said, Daddy, the money you gave Mummy to pay our school fees, she used to buy 3 baby goats, saying they are more valuable than us. Daddy, I used to be the best student in my class, but now I am the worst. My classmates are mocking me, saying that I will have to repeat class because I did not take the promotion exams. Daddy, please tell me the truth. Is your wife really our mother? Prosper asked with tears streaming down his cheeks. Please tell us the truth now, Daddy, because you may return one day and not see us anymore. The last-born said, and Jackson became so angry and devastated that he entered inside, packed his wife's belongings and threw them outside, locked all the doors, and took his children to his sister's house before going to the hospital to see Kelvin and his family. When Mama Kelvin returned from the market, she was shocked to find all of her belongings outside, and everywhere was completely locked. She could not utter a word because she knew what she did. She then went to his parents' house, where her mother threatened to pour her hot water if she approached the doorstep. Mama Kelvin became very frustrated and confused. She had nowhere to go because she was not on good terms with anyone, and everyone despised her because of how she mistreated her sons. She then went to her shop and slept there. The next morning, she went to her elder sister's town, and when she arrived, her sister threatened to send Mama Kelvin away, but her sister's husband intervened. "Honey, sending your sister away from your house is not the best solution. Instead, look for a way to take her for deliverance. She needs serious deliverance, because I do not believe what is happening to her is normal," her sister's husband said as he drove away. A few moments later, her sister began asking her questions. "Margaret, what is your problem? Why would you want to kill the children that God has given you? Have you gone crazy, or what? I will take you to my church on Sunday for deliverance because you need it," her sister said. 3 days later, Mama Kelvin's sister took her to her pastor at her church. And when Mama Kelvin arrived at the pastor's office, he asked her, "Madam, please, what is your problem?" "Pastor, I have 4 sons, but I am desperately in need of a female child. I have prayed and fasted countless times for a female child, but God has refused to grant my requests, and any female child I give birth to will die instantly," Mama Kelvin explained. Pastor then held her hands and began praying for her. While praying, he had a revelation, so he quickly stopped praying and said, "Please, madam, follow me. The Lord said I should show you something." When they arrived in the church's auditorium, they saw 2 wealthy people rolling on the ground crying and praying. A very rich and influential lady and Professor Maxwell, the husband of Lady Anita, the woman who paid Mama Kelvin's bills because of how Kelvin and his brother took care of their mother in the hospital. So when Pastor and Mama Kelvin approached, the pastor asked Professor Maxwell, "Please, Professor, why are you rolling on the ground crying and praying, regardless of your expensive outfits and status?" "Man of God, I have been married for 23 years without having a child. Pastor, if God could give me just 1 child, even if he or she is crippled, I would be eternally grateful. I am fed up with being childless," Professor Maxwell exclaimed, and Mama Kelvin suddenly remembered she had 4 sons and began to cry quietly. "Please, madam, what is your problem that you are crying and lamenting on this dusty ground? Despite your expensive skin, outfits, and influence," Pastor asked. "Man of God, my home is on fire. It has been exactly 16 years since I married without having a child, and my husband's family is threatening to kick me out of my matrimonial home. Sir, if God could just give me a deaf and dumb child, I would be extremely happy and grateful," Lady Elizabeth responded. The pastor then asked Mama Kelvin, "Madam, could you please tell them about your problem? Please tell them what you told me." Mama Kelvin was crying so hard that she could not say anything. "Madam, you told me something before I prayed for you. Could you please tell them?" "They are eager to hear." Mama Kelvin could not say anything. She just kept crying. Pastor then said, "This lady has 4 amazing healthy sons, and she is complaining about not having a daughter. Jesus Christ. Please, Ma, give me your last son, and I will share half of my wealth with you. I have properties all over the world. Professor Maxwell pleaded. Please, madam, my husband's family is threatening to throw me out of my matrimonial home because I am childless. Please, madam, use the grace that God has bestowed upon you to pray for me to have just one child, and I will give you 10 million naira and my personal car. Lady Elizabeth exclaimed. Mama Kelvin was deeply touched and she cried out uncontrollably. The pastor then took her into his office and began asking her questions. Madam, while I was praying for you, the Lord told me to show you those wealthy people and to ask you only one question. Madam, assuming you have 10 children whom you love equally, and these 10 children are naked, and 9 of them are rolling on the ground pleading with you to give them clothes to cover their nakedness, because you are the only one who is capable of making clothes, and some of them build houses for you, offer you a lot of money to give them clothes to cover their nakedness, but you turned down their request and decided to give clothes to the one who was standing and arrogantly asking you for clothes, and he collected the clothes and joyfully appreciated you. Then he returned a second time and asked for more clothes, and he still found his 9 siblings rolling on the ground begging you for clothes. But you chose and gave him the same color clothes as before but different designs, and he squeezed his face and said thanks. Then he came back a third time and asked for more clothes, and you still gave him the same color with multiple designs, so he deliberately refused to thank you. He returned a fourth time and asked for more clothes, and still find his 9 siblings rolling on the ground begging you for even rags to cover up their nakedness. And you still chose him over them and gave him the same color of clothes with different designs, in which you had already given him 3 clothes while his 9 siblings had none. But instead of thanking you, he hissed and left angrily. He then decided to soak all of the 4 clothes in mud and bring them to you and said arrogantly, "Since I have asked you for clothes, you have only given me one color, so I decided to soak them in mud to show you that I do not need this color of clothes. Please give me another color of clothes." "Please, madam, will you give him?" the pastor asked. "Chai! God forbid. I will not give such a rude and ungrateful child another clothes. I chose him over his siblings and gave him clothes, and he had the guts to soak them in mud and bring them to me to give him another color of clothes. He is mad. I will just collect all of the clothes and give them to his 4 siblings, leaving him naked and miserable for the rest of his life." Mama Kelvin responded, "Madam, that is the type of person you are. God chose you over millions of people and gave you 4 gifted sons for free without paying a dime. But instead of you thanking him, you began complaining and lamenting about not having a female child. You cannot even thank him when you wake up in the morning. You only thank him when he grants your requests, and if he does not grant them right away, you start complaining and lamenting. Madam, you are an ungrateful person. That man you saw rolling on the ground praying and asking God for a child is a very wealthy professor and one of the richest men in town. He built several churches, mosques, and hospitals for people, as well as houses for orphanages and full scholarships for countless underprivileged people, but he has never had a child. And that woman you saw there, her husband owns one of the top hospitals, hotels, and estates in this town. She has done countless things for this church and society, and she is still not born, and there is nothing medically wrong with her and her husband. But God chose you over them and gave you 4 gifted boys. But you despised what God gave you freely without appreciating him, and you are still asking for more. Ma, that is impossible. The fact that God is extremely merciful does not imply that he is a fool. There is a reason why he gave you only boys. Are you aware that your 4 sons are stars, and one of them will be one of the top leaders in this country tomorrow? You have no idea what God has given you. Madam, if you know what is best for you, you better cry out to God for mercy. The pastor said, "Please, Pastor, what should I do to seek God's mercy and forgiveness? I am very scared right now because my 9-month-old grandson is in critical condition in the hospital as a result of what I did to him. And the doctor has said the boy may not survive." Mama Kelvin cried out, "Madam, what have you done to that innocent soul?" Pastor curiously asked. "Because of my deep hatred for the boy and his mother, I locked him outside the backyard when heavy rain was falling at midnight, and my son was in the hospital with his wife, who collapsed badly on her way back from a farm. As I speaks, the poor innocent boy is dying." Chai! Madam, you are heartless and wicked. Go quickly and beg your son and his family for forgiveness before you are eternally cursed. Just pray that the boy survives, because if he dies in that condition, what will happen will be mysterious. The pastor said. Mama Kelvin quickly boarded a bus to her town, then went to the hospital to seek his son and Amara's forgiveness, and when she arrived, she was shocked by what she saw. If you were Kelvin and Amara, would you forgive Mama Kelvin? Please leave comments, like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, turn on the notification bell to be notified when part 2 is released.